So today, because I am a massive Dark Angels fan and always have been, I wanted to take a look at the rules previews that we've got coming up. Partly just to kind of talk through them, and partly because there's a lot of people who are very stressed and worried, it seems, about some of these previews. So let's talk about them. Let's have a look at what the Deathwing have got. Cool. So scrolling down, first rule, inner circle. Each time an attack is allocated to a model in this unit, subtract 1 from the damage. Makes sense. Death Guard players are going to be angry. Sorry, Death Guard players. It's probably better for them to have this than to have, only woundable on a 4 from 9th edition. That's still a good survivability buff, but not as ridiculously OP as it was. It looks like this is going to apply to all Deathwing models, though, if they're in this detachment. So that's not just... because this is the Deathwing Knights rule at the moment. This is what Deathwing Knights get, I believe. So that's extending to all Deathwing models, which is really nice for normal Terminators. It's really nice for Blade Guard, potentially Stern Guard. I don't know if that's been confirmed yet. Someone might know if that's been confirmed. We might have to wait for the Codex, I don't actually know. -1 damage, that's a really nice thing to hand out to the detachment. And obviously it's only going to affect Deathwing units that get the inner circle keyword. So you're not going to be able to run this detachment, take standard intercessors, and have them be -1 damage to everything. I'm assuming. Okay, so first enhancement, Deathwing Assault. Deathwing model with deep strike ability only. So a Terminator character. The bearer's unit can be set up using deep strike ability in the reinforcement steps of your first, second, or third. Cool. Okay, so what that is basically saying is give the enhancement to a character, you put them with a blob of Terminators. That blob of Terminators can now deep strike as normal, but they can do it from turn 1, which has the potential to be silly, but you're still, I guess if you're going to deep strike into someone's backline, you still have to make that big charge. I think it's a decent enhancement to have. It gives you the option. I don't think it's that sort of standout and strong, but I guess we need to see what the other ones are going to be. Teleport homers. Okay. So it looks like Deathwing Terminators are going to get teleport homers now. I mean, we already kind of knew that because we saw it on the Deathwing Assault promotional art, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, where is it? Yeah, here, each squad's got a teleport homer. So Deathwing are getting teleport homers, which is nice. I don't think they had those before. Okay, detachment rule. Let's have a look. At the start of your command phase, select 1 objective marker. Until the start of your next command phase, that objective marker is your vowed objective marker. Each time a Deathwing infantry unit from your army makes an attack that targets a unit within range of your vowed objective, add 1 to the wound roll. So I misread this the first time. I thought that was you pick 1 at the start of the game. This is at the start of every command phase, so that's actually much better than I thought it was going to be. Essentially what you're doing is looking at enemies who are on objectives in your command phase, and you're just getting a massive damage boost against them, just a flat damage boost with all your infantry, which I think most Deathwing lists will be majority infantry. You can obviously take vehicles, but I think most people will be running mass Terminators, maybe Blade Guard, maybe Stern Guard. So that's quite exciting. And that'll stack really nicely with Oath of Moment. You can get massive damage buffs against units if you're re-rolling all hits, and +1 to the wound roll. That's potentially very, very strong. And then the last bit of info we've got here are some points values. So Belial hasn't changed in points. The Deathwing Knights have gone up a lot. I think they were 235 before. So they've gone up 55 points. Okay, that's a little concerning. That being said, this is probably Codex points values, and there's a good chance that the Codex will come out a week or 2 later. We get, digital resources. That might come down very quickly. That might stay for a little while, in which case no one's going to run Deathwing Knights, I imagine. I personally don't care. I'm going to get a squad. They look amazing. I want to paint some. So I'll try and use them, even if they stay at 290 points for all of 10th edition. I'll try and get my money's worth. Cool. So that is a good bit of info so far. So overall thoughts from this article: massive Terminator bricks are still going to be the way to play Deathwing. -1 damage, making them look really tasty. And the way that Deathwing worked all the way through 9th was you just get a big brick, you sit them on an objective, they hold that objective for a massive portion of the game because they're just hard to shift. So now they're still hard to shift, and if you get too close to them, they're getting the +1 to wound roll. So they are going to be a nightmare for people to deal with if they manage to get themselves to objectives. Obviously, they're still very slow, but potentially Deathwing Assault, you could deep strike a massive brick onto a midfield objective turn 1 and just sit there all game, potentially. A little disclaimer from me. I have seen some other Deathwing rules previewed by other YouTube creators, and I'm not 100% sure where these rules have come from. It's quite possibly the Warhammer TV battle report. I don't have Warhammer TV, so I'm not able to see that. I'm not able to verify that those rules are real. That being said, one of the things that I saw was power weapons for the Deathwing Knight Squad. Now, if you take the sword option, I'm assuming power weapons. A lot of people seem to be up in arms that the maces are rubbish now. I strongly suspect that that profile of power weapons applies to the swords, and the maces are still going to have a different profile, which is probably going to be way chunkier damage. Honestly, it's just going to be a case of hanging on, waiting, and kind of seeing how it goes. Everything is subject to change. Everything is subject to change. Even if Warhammer TV have put out a battle report, that battle report has been filmed with the Codex points in mind, which might change in a few weeks' time. The rules would have been written for the book a couple of months back, maybe longer. Honestly, that's also subject to change. We've got an index right around the corner, so it's very possible that things will be shaken up a little bit. We just have to wait and see. If you want the details on the extra rules, check out Auspex Tactics. I don't think I need to tell anybody here who that is, but if you haven't seen their video, go check out their video. It's got some extra details on the Deathwing. Moving on to Ravenwing then. I love Ravenwing. I think they are so cool. It would be my preferred way to play Dark Angels if their models had the same support that Deathwing were getting at the minute. So let's see what they've got going on. Their detachment is called Company of Hunters. Their detachment role is called Masters of Maneuver. Adeptus Astartes units from your army are eligible to shoot in a turn in which they advanced or fell back. So importantly, the keyword is Adeptus Astartes. So if you take a Company of Hunters detachment and you take along Intercessors, Hellblasters, whatever else, this seems to be working for infantry. It looks like it will work for vehicles. It doesn't just apply to Ravenwing units, which kind of surprised. That could actually make for a very interesting option. I assume that a lot of the strats are going to limit you to Ravenwing units, but it could make for quite an interesting detachment where you're not taking just Ravenwing units. Give your Dreadnoughts a chance to fall back and shoot, gives you the ability to run Intercessors up the board and still shoot. There's going to be some interesting things coming out of that, I'm sure. So the rule, I think, actually comes from the 9th edition detachment ability. It's not too dissimilar. So yeah, so Speed of the Raven was a 3-inch move increase to Ravenwing models, and Ravenwing units from your army can shoot in a turn in which they advanced. It's nice to have. High speed focus. So this is your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit selected its targets. One Ravenwing unit from your army selected as a target of the attacking unit's attacks, -1 to hit. That's not dissimilar to high speed focus from 9th, which was you used at the same time and gave yourself a 4+ invul from ranged attacks. I'm not surprised that they've got rid of the 4+ invul, but -1 to hit still seems good. I can definitely see myself using that constantly. Yeah, so like I said before, I think the stratagems will focus around Ravenwing units, around bikers, speeders, everything else. But you can definitely take other units and use the detachment rule on them. So Talon Strike, your shooting phase or the fight phase. A Ravenwing mounted unit, so bikes only, from your army has not been selected to shoot or fight yet, and they get +1 to wound if there's an infantry or character unit. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. So I think if I'm reading that rightly, that's kind of situational, but has the potential to be quite strong. +1 to wound is always a nice thing to have. I've not got much more to say about that one. Okay, Master of Maneuver. Company of Hunters has a nasty selection of enhancements. Ravenwing Command Squad's champion has gained the character keyword. Okay, allowing the whole unit to attach to bikes. cool. So you can get Command Squad, you can get Ravenwing Command Squad, you can attach that to Outriders or Black Knights. And if they keep Black Knights the same squad size in this new codex, that could be a ridiculous unit. Because in 9th, we could have between 3 and 9 Black Knights. If we can still have squads of 9, that's basically a squad of 12 Black Knights, which is going to be very tasty for buffing. Like, you're going to get massive returns out of strats you use on that squad if we can make them that big. If the Ravenwing Ancient and Apothecary still do the same thing, that's going to be a nasty... It's going to cost you a lot of points, but that's going to be a nasty squad with +1 OC from the standard. And rezzing a bike every turn from the Apothecary. That could be big. We're going to have to see what they do with that exactly. So this is Master of Maneuver. This is an enhancement. Ravenwing model only. Okay, if the bearer's unit starts the battle in strategic reserves, its points value does not count towards the combined points limit for units from your arm. Okay, so essentially you give that to a character, put that character in a squad, and then that squad can start in strategic reserves without costing a percentage of your army. So you can just start with more stuff off the board. So that's fine. I don't think that's going to be something that everyone wants to do all the time, but it's a nice option to have. Outriders get battle line in this detachment, which means that you could have, I think it's 6. The limit goes up to 6 instead of 3 squads, so you could have 6 squads of Outriders if you wanted to. That's pretty decent. You'll be pleased to know that Landspeeder, Vengeances, Dark Shrouds, Dark Talons, Jet Fighters also all back, and Samael, Grandmaster of the Ravenwing. Okay, that might be soft confirmation that Talon Master's gone, which I don't think is a surprise to anyone. Unfortunately, the Landspeeder model is no longer in production, therefore Talon Master is not something you can make anymore. So that's a shame. That is a sad shame. I was actually just getting around to painting my Talon Master myself, but I'll just have to do that for sentimental value at some point, maybe proxy it as something else. I don't even know what I could proxy it as, but unfortunately that is the way things are going. We expected it, we knew it was coming. Still a sad loss though, everyone liked the Talon Master. Don't think we have anything else available right now. What I will say is both detachments are looking fun, they're both looking fluffy. They're both looking pretty strong. I'm hoping that when we get more rules, it's not just going to be another edition where Deathwing are the only way that people viably run Dark Angels at tournaments. Hopefully, Ravenwing can hold their own. What I'm hoping for even more than that is that they take the Unforgiven Taskforce, do something with it. Because right now, it just isn't a good choice. I think all of the strats we have, they do one thing, which is okay, but if you happen to be battle shocked, it does something else, which massively boosts the value of the strat. Now, some of the strats are really good, and you can get a lot of value out of them and still just run the detachment because the value is in the strats. But you are never going to be trying to get yourself battle shocked. Also, in terms of fluff, Dark Angels love chaplains, right? Everyone loves a Dark Angels chaplain. And one of the things they do is prevent you from being battle shocked. Now, why am I going to run one of my favorite models, the Chaplain, with a squad if it's going to stop the squad being battle shocked, which actually reduces the options for the squad because the stratagems no longer are as powerful since we're stopping ourselves being battle shocked? It's a little bit all over the place. I hope that they have considered the Unforgiven detachment and they're doing something to make it a little bit more worthwhile. In general, I think the Dark Angels are looking strong. We've got some fantastic stuff coming out. Even if they end up being rubbish, the new models that we're getting are bonkers good. Bonkers good. I could not imagine when I got back into this hobby that we would be so blessed as we have been for the last year, since last Christmas when we saw Azrael, then the Lion, now all of this new stuff. So regardless of how rules go down, I'm really looking forward to it all. If you want more details, check out that Auspex video. I would have covered the same content, I just didn't know the sources for some of that information. If you're going to be trying to pre-order the Deathwing Assault Box, good luck to everyone out there. Hopefully there's enough for us all. Have a great weekend. See you next week.